Welcome to the Solex podcast, where we discuss changing the way people approach their health. Everything at its most fundamental level is energy and frequency, and we are proud to be at the forefront of this field, even though we're just scratching the surface.
I'm here with Jennifer Nelson Hawks. She has been with us from the very beginning, Jennifer, haven't you?
From the very beginning.
In fact, I'd like for you to share your story of how you started. Jennifer was one of the very first beta testers of the new mobile unit. So Jennifer.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jennifer Nelson Hawks. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I'm also a bioresonance practitioner. So the reason why I'm telling you that is because I have been using this type of technology for quite a few years. So a couple of years ago, I had been working with a colleague of mine, Amber Mosley. Most of you know Amber. Incredible human being, has become a great friend. And she said to me one day, hey, I met this gentleman, Lauren Swenson, and he and I are going to start working together, and I would really love for you to look at this bioresonance device. And I said, Amber, no. Thank you, but no thank you. Yeah. I don't have time. I'm sure it's great, but I just don't have time. She said, well, that's too bad, because this is going to be really great technology. And I said, well, I'm so busy in my own practice. At that time, I owned a full functional wellness center. I had lots of other devices I was using. And she said, well, what if I send you one? And I said, okay. If you're listening, Amber, trying to almost get you off the phone. No, not really. But I was like, fine, whatever. Just send it to me. That's fine. And so I received this box in the mail. I opened the box. I picked the box up. I put it on the floor. I stepped away from it. And about 2 weeks later, she called me and she said, oh my gosh, what do you think? Is this an amazing technology? Like, I would love to know your opinion. I would love to know your thoughts. And I was like, and it's still in the box. And she was like, oh, no. So in that moment, she said, go get it. I'm not getting off the phone. Right. We're going to do it together. I was like, I don't even know how to turn the darn thing on. How am I supposed to possibly use this thing? So I said, okay, I've got about half an hour on my schedule right now. So let me just go through this process with you. So I opened it up and she taught me how to turn it on and do just the basic little things that I needed to do to make it active. She said, she said, it's going to take a couple of minutes. It took more than a couple of minutes, Lauren. She said, it's going to take you a couple of minutes. So go ahead and run the scan and then call me back. And I was like, oh, whatever. So I hung up the phone and I turned the device on, and it took a while. And I think it maybe scanned I don't know, how many things did it scan, Lauren?
Not very many. You had a really basic, simple InnerVoice. I think you had 30 items in vitals and you had maybe 15 items in comprehensive.
Okay, so not very many, but how long did it take, do you think?
Probably 15 to 20 minutes to do those.
So 15 to 20 minutes later, I thought, okay. I started getting ready for my next client that was coming in. And I was like, what just happened to me? What just happened to me? Like, I have all this energy, I have this clarity, and all of a sudden, I'm not kidding you, I started running around my office like I just had like a big old shot of coffee or something. And I was like, what is this? So I immediately called her up and I said, Amber, what is this device? Like, I have never felt anything like this before. And the rest is kind of history, but I have some stories behind that too.
So the thing is on the other side of that, I get this phone call from Amber and she says, Lauren, I need you to send the AO scanner up to a really special, gifted, talented healer in Montana or Wyoming, and just put it up there and she'll join. And I said, well, okay, whatever you want. So we sent it to you. And it was a few weeks before you responded back. Amber was absolutely convinced you needed to see this thing. And she was right.
She was right. She was right. And she had been to my wellness center working with me on some other projects. Yep. So she knew that this would be so near and dear to my heart someday.
You know what's interesting is a lot of people, and it's fun to sit down and talk to new new QLAs that have got the system and they've had it for a little while, and to hear their stories of how they got introduced to it. Some of them were really excited in the beginning, but a lot of people were more like you, like, well, I've already done this before. I've been there, done that. Not too excited about something new. It's just another thing I have to worry about. It's another thing I've got to learn. It's going to be too complicated. And in the beginning, you remember how simple it was.
Oh, yes.
Very simple.
Absolutely. But I do have a little story around that if we have a hot second for this.
Sure.
Because my sweet, dear husband, I would be on the lake every weekend, okay? So I was introduced to this, I don't remember. I'm going to say late spring, maybe.
Yep.
Late spring. I know that you opened it all up in June, and I know that specifically because I was on the middle of Jackson Lake with my husband with no service. Amber calling me on the cell phone and saying they're releasing it, get service so you can push the order through. So I made him literally go to the dock where I would run up the dock. I would get Wi-Fi. Then I would tap onto the Wi-Fi, and at that time I was like, okay, so I literally got in immediately. But then what happened is then we both felt the benefits. So twice a day on lake days, mind you, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, I would make him go to do my InnerVoice twice a day because that's what I was doing. Wow. But I had to have that Wi-Fi. So now I just carry it with me everywhere, and we'll get into that later. But it was a thing. It made me feel so good. It still makes me feel so good.
And the thing is we hear this all the time from the people. The InnerVoice is really powerful. For most people, one session with the InnerVoice, listening to their tones, there's an aha moment, or there's an emotional breakthrough, or there's something that says, okay, wait, this is different. This is more powerful than I thought. And does that sound like what you experienced?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has come a long way. Yeah. There's a lot of components to it now. I feel like someone starting out could feel a little overwhelmed, but the reality is it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Not at all. So back in the very beginning, so we're almost 3 years ago, and you were in way before we actually launched to the big public.
That's correct.
And so we needed your feedback, and as well as others. And we found this was enough for most people. This was overwhelming. And as we got into it, and we could see that we could develop more, we could bring more of the meat to the scanner, we started doing it. And so vitals went from 30 things to a couple hundred things. Now it's over 800 things, or close to 800 things. Comprehensive, remember, comprehensive had eyes, ears, heart, and a few little things. Now we've got everything in there. And so people at first look will get on there and say, I don't know what to do with this. And we got a lot of comments saying, this is getting too complicated. This is getting too much. I'm overwhelmed even just to turn it on. And that's when we came out with Easy Scan and Quick Scan. So we've really, I think, made it to where people at whatever their technological level or their interest level is at the time can be comfortable with it. Because if you can get in, open it up, turn it on, and hit one button, you can do a quick scan and you get your report, listen to your tones, and move on with your day.
Yeah, and I think that that's a very valid point. And there's so many different types of personalities that have this at their fingertips. I always, in fact, I kind of live by the fact that, you have a watch, right? If you have a watch, you either just know what time it is, or you really want to know how the watch is made. You can sit down and you can dissect every piece of this, and you can really understand how the watch is made, but it's really not necessary. Because if you can let the device do what it is truly designed to do, you will get just as much benefit out of it without sometimes that ego or mental play that comes along with all the others.
And the thing is, with the beauty of that, you've got some people that are very analytical, and they've got to understand it. They've got to see this. They've got to look at the reports. They've got to do all these things. But then you have the people that just say, I just want my inner voice. I want my balancing frequencies. I want to get on with my day. The truth is, most of the time, I get up in the morning, I do my inner voice, and I might do a vitals, and I might do a comprehensive, but I never even look at the report. I listen to my tones, and I'm on the road. I'm in and out. I'm done, and on my way within 20 minutes.
It's funny. I get up and do the easy scan. I do a little different because it's truly easy. I do one, and it gives me all three, and I'm only focusing on the things that are out of balance, which allows me to not
Which
be
is great.
over concentrated by the information of the entire scan. I am able to put pieces together much faster for myself when I have 10 or 15 things to look at versus hundreds
Yeah.
of things to look at.
That's so valid. And the thing is when you're looking at your reports, the reports in and of themselves are very comprehensive and detailed, and by nature become very overwhelming. What are you going to do with all that information? Really, all you need to know is, okay, like you said, what time is it? That's all I needed to know. And where do I have to go? The scanner can be the same way. Where the value of those reports come in is when you're trying to track a history. When you email those reports to you, and you need to because they don't stay. Once you do a new one, that old one is gone. You track those and then you say, okay, see, I wasn't feeling well back in January. And if I go back and look at my reports, I start to see these things that were out. And if I scanned weekly or every other week, I can look at those reports and I can see that trend. That's where the reports are really beneficial. But on the day-to-day thing,
well, it's just like blood tests, right?
Yes.
You go get a blood test done and it'll show one thing. If you do it the next day, it's going to show something different.
Yeah. In fact, if you do a blood test at 10 o'clock and you go back to the same place, same nurse, and do another blood test a couple hours later, totally different. Totally different.
You bet.
reports.
Because our body is constantly in a change
That's
of,
right.
flexibility.
Flux.
Exactly. And so with that being said, I think that some people get just overwhelmed with the information, but then they really want to know how to connect those dots.
That's right.
That's the key.
And that is the key.
That is the key.
Well, a few weeks back, Shelby and I were preparing for another Wednesday call, and we were going through the scanner, and she asked me about a part of the scanner. I don't remember that in the scanner. And I'm one of the people that's responsible for putting it together, and I'd completely forgot that it was there. And I think that's something I would really like to point out to everybody now. If once a week or once every 2 weeks you sat down and just really played with your scanner, not necessarily the reports and all the other, but what are my features? What's in the cupboard that I have a choice to select from? We were going through that. What comes up when you do your easy scan, your quick scan? You just pointed out. You can know in less than 5 or 6 minutes everything you need to know for that moment and get on with your day and not have to waste any more time. But what about going into your SEFI and making a little playlist for you for that day based on what was out of range? What's it going to take? 5 minutes to make another little playlist or program a SEFI dot? These little things, if we just learned how to utilize these things. I'll give you an example. We all have a car. We get into that car, and I'll bet you most of us that are driving a car that's been built in the last 10 years don't utilize 50% of the features in that car.
I'm going to go with 80.
80%, you're probably right. So if we just took the time to look at the technology and the gift that we have in our hand, is to say, man, I didn't realize that I can do this. And that was what I realized when we were putting that call together, was I'd completely forgot about that little gem in there. And so if we just took a little bit of time, I'm going to find something new in the scanner today, and you'll be surprised. You'll find something new every time.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you know somebody that also has a scanner, ask them what their favorite part of the scanner is.
Absolutely.
And maybe they have a trick. Maybe they have a secret. Maybe they have a little secret sauce for whatever it is. I personally love the SEFI, but I make a SEFI of detoxification playlist.
Makes sense.
Because that's what works for me. Other people may need more of the encouragement or the affirmations. Some people like the chakras or the meridians.
And see, those two are a lot of people look at chakras and meridians and think, okay, that's kind of on the woo-woo side. And really, it's not at all. It's just, we've been trained and taught, okay, these are the new age thing. And it's kind of, chakras and meridians go back almost 5,000 years.
Well, think about acupuncture.
Yeah. I try to equate the chakras and the meridians to a circuit breaker panel as your chakras, and your meridians is the wiring through the house. And it's when one of those circuit breakers is popped, no energy is flowing through those wires. And sometimes you just need to go back to the circuit panel because things aren't working the way they are, and you just turn them off, turn them back on, that little reset, and now everything's flowing the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I know when I look at my report, when I take the time to look at my report, the first thing I look at are the chakras and meridians. I mean, yes, they come up on the report
Right,
first. So of
right.
course, it's easy to look at those, but I do pay most attention to those because if I don't have energy flowing through my body, how are my organs supposed to be functioning on
That's
on
right.
a high level of being optimal?
And that's true. With that, one thing that I like to encourage people to do when you scan, if you could scan at the same time every day, because your organs are going through that 12-hour cycle. And so if you're scanning at 10 o'clock on Monday, but you scan at 3 or 4 o'clock on Tuesday, things aren't quite the same in your body as they were the other day. So if you're scanning at the same time every day, you're going to see more realistic and more actual results.
Yeah. And I think, but for those that can't scan every day at the same time every day, just still scan, just
course.
maybe not analyze the information quite as much as you would have if you were doing it at the same time all the time.
That's good. As we've been developing the scanner over the last few years, a lot of advances have happened. A lot of new modules have come in. And for the most part, they're received with a lot of excitement. So oh, wow, this is a whole new thing. There are a few with some of these that have come out that, oh, that's a little too much. That's a little intimidating. I don't know if I can learn that one. And, the last thing that just came out that was pretty big was the new addition to InnerVoice, which was Pulse. You still have your classic, which is one thing that we've tried to do is when we bring something new in, we don't want to take away something that somebody was comfortable with. Remember last year we brought in the enhanced reports on vitals and comprehensive. And it had that little number in there. And that really confused a lot of people. Maybe they go, oh, this is even worse than I thought, or not as bad as I thought. And one of our QLAs says, why can't we just have both? And that was really a good suggestion, sound suggestion. And so you can go classic or enhanced reports. With InnerVoice, you have the ability to go back to classic if that's where you're comfortable. It will always default to opening up on the new version, Pulse, which is, and this is where I think people don't understand. On the classic version of InnerVoice, those are preset recordings that have a little bit of frequency based on your voice behind the music that you're listening to. And that was powerful. It's still powerful. With Pulse, what we're doing is we're recording 10 seconds of your voice. And in that 10 seconds, we're looking at 10,000 frequencies, of which 2,000 of those are your voice. The other 8,000 frequencies are noise in the room, the air conditioner, whatever. But the 2,000 that we really hone in on are just your voice. So when that's all done, the tones that you're listening to behind the music are not computer generated. They are actually created from the tones in your voice. So it's actually creating a 100% unique voice print that you're listening to that has been put underneath those octaves that are out of range, out of balance. So Pulse is taking InnerVoice 10 times more personalized to the individual. And so that's why we encourage people to use that. And some people are still, what do all these buttons mean? And then we have videos on that, so we don't need to go into that now, but that just takes InnerVoice to a whole nother level. You've been using this now for almost 3 years. In your practice, what were the things that you were most comfortable with doing, had to learn how to be a little more comfortable with once they came out, and what were some of the responses you got from your clients?
That's a great question. And I'm so glad you went into the Pulse and the InnerVoice because I think the reality is most individuals, we just don't like change.
We don't.
So even though you're enhancing something, it's still change. We have to use our brain to adapt to whatever that is. But if you have the time or the ability and the desire to do it because it's only enhancing your ability to receive those frequencies and really better the optimization of vibration in your own body. When I first got the InnerVoice has always been the powerhouse in my clinic when I use the AO scan on my clients. And that's because I cannot tap into their emotions. I am not a therapist. I don't act like a therapist. People have their things, right? Some people don't even know what those things are.
That's right.
I really love to utilize the InnerVoice because I think it's super powerful amongst anything because it does tap into the feel and that emotional piece. Now, I do think that the one underutilized piece of that are the glasses, is the color.
Great point.
If you have chromotherapy, you have that light spectrum in your eyes while you're listening, you're taking something that is already advanced and skyrocketing it.
That's right. I have a story on that, and it's from Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein, this goes to color therapy. Albert Einstein and one of his technicians that we're working with had built a lead wall a foot thick, maybe it was a little bit thicker. And on the other side of that lead wall was uranium. And they were on this side of the wall, and they were measuring with a Geiger counter the amount of radiation and how much lead it took. And it didn't matter how much lead they put there, they were still reading it on the Geiger counter. And then as they were doing these tests, one of the other technicians in the laboratory walked between them and the wall. And as they walked through the wall, all of a sudden the Geiger counter went to 0. They think, whoa, what happened here? And so they looked at the guy that just walked by, and as soon as he walked by, it went right back up to wherever the number was. They asked him to come over and says, what is it that you're carrying? And they thought it was something that he was carrying that had blocked that radiation. It was just a clipboard. And every time he walked between the two of them, between the wall and the Geiger counter, it went to 0. You know what it was? He was wearing yellow, a yellow jumpsuit or radiation suit. And as he walked in front, that color yellow, no other color did it, not a gray suit or a blue suit, but yellow. Albert Einstein talks about this in his book. The color yellow, the wavelength of yellow stops radiation.
Fascinating.
Isn't that something? So color, we look at, oh, you're going to put on some colored glasses. What's that going to do for you? We have no idea how powerful, because when light passes through color, there's a wavelength. We know that red is somewhere between 605 and 690 nanometers on the wavelength spectrum. And we know that when red light goes it goes through our eyes or on our skin, there are huge benefits. And so same with blues and yellows. I found that if I wear yellow glasses when I'm out of the country, I have less stomach issues. My digestion seems to be better and more secure. When I'm in China, because I'm not a big real Chinese food person, I keep McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and KFC alive in China. But if I do that, I have no issues with my gut, or very little. So color therapy is amazing. I'm so grateful that you said that about the glasses. If people understood, and it doesn't need to be a long time, 15 minutes of that light through your brain resets it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing is you don't have to have glasses. You can look at a color.
That's right.
You can look at a color too.
That's right. Or wear a color. I
mean, I find myself wearing the same colors all the time. It must tell me something, right?
Yeah.
But also, in addition to the question that you asked me about my clinic, the reality is you've created such a dynamic product that it is like a little wellness center in the palm of your hand and can be utilized anywhere in the world as long as you have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
When you were using the little handheld clinic, what kind of experiences did you see with your clients?
I think the biggest battle was, what does this all mean? Okay, this is great, but am I dying? Do I have a disease? Oh my gosh, this is so much information. I don't even know how to handle it. And so for me, when I do in my clinic, when I use the AO scanner on my clients, I really just do an easy scan. It just takes a lot of information out of play that doesn't necessarily need to be in play. And then if I have them take it home, or I'll use the Alpha 3 passes, are absolutely awesome for individuals that just want to try the product without really committing. And then I tell them, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. And then send me the reports. I don't want you to be looking at the reports because you don't know what they mean. Just like blood results, right? Most people don't know what their blood means. They have to ask their doctor unless they research it and they know exactly. But when you know how to start connecting those dots, you'll see that sometimes it's just little itty bitty things that need to change. But what it does is it gives me as the practitioner a glance of, oh, this person may not be detoxing very well. Oh, this person may not be eliminating properly, which is kind of the same thing, but I meant poop by that.
That's right.
Or maybe they're eating foods that create inflammation, or maybe they're not eating enough omega-3 fatty acids. So when you start to put that big picture together for them and just say, okay, here's some lifestyle changes we're going to make.
Great direction.
But if you look at some of the reports, they do show this, especially on InnerVoice.
Yeah.
They'll give you those lifestyle ideas to make changes with. And even if you just picked one a day, it will make such a big difference.
One thing I noticed too on a lot of the reports is hydration. Drink more water. And it is so true. All of us are dehydrated to some degree or another. Very few of us drink enough of the water. And then even those of us who do drink a lot of water will supplement that with sodas and teas
and you can
coffees.
only absorb as much as your body is able to absorb.
That's right.
So, you could be drinking a ton of water, but if your electrolytes are out of balance, are
Good
you
point.
absorbing that water?
Let's see. So when you're looking at, when you're helping people understand the reports, and I like the fact that you have them send the reports to you in the beginning so that they don't get overwhelmed. I think that's a really good direction, especially in that setting where they've come to you in a clinic. You help them understand, okay, this is just a look, and we're going to look and see this, and I'll tell you where I think you need to go make some changes. But then it helps them educate. We make a big point of this. The AO scan is an educational tool, and education is power. The more we know, then the more we can make the changes we need to make. I love that direction. What do you think is your second favorite part of the scanner?
The second favorite part of the scanner is going to be the SEFI.
I love it.
And honestly, one of my favorite scans of the SEFI has nothing to do in relation to me. It has everything to do in relation to my bank account.
Oh.
So I've taken an object and I have taken a photo of my bank account. Well, you can't see it, but it's the intention of my bank account. And I put financial freedom on the top, and I've put all the affirmations and gratitudes and all the things. And I'm not kidding you. It works.
Wow.
It's powerful.
We've heard that before multiple times. In fact, we had one lady that had come to us from Florida, and she says, I have a son who's a little bit disabled. He'll do the lottery every single Friday. He'll go down and he'll buy a $5 lottery ticket. And once he found out about the SEFI, because she says, I always talk about the SEFI, he started programming or broadcasting to him abundance.
Yes.
And she says for the next 3 weeks in a row, he won the lottery. Now, they weren't the mega billion lotteries, but he'd pick up $100 or $200. And it was just interesting that people are saying that. We have people say that they'll do the same thing. They'll take a picture of their debit card and they'll send affirmations to them. That is, that's kind of a fun
It's kind of a fun play of it, right? But I do use a lot of other things. One of the other ones I really love are the quantum flowers. Quantum flowers are powerful because they are another tool besides your inner voice to tap into the emotion that we get that gets lodged in our tissues.
Yep.
And I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that they're based off of Bach flowers.
That's true. The frequencies, yeah.
The frequencies. And, I think that being able to tap into those are incredible. I also think being able to make playlists. There's a lot. If you get on the Facebook, people are sharing their information.
Absolutely.
Go look at it.
It's wonderful information.
It's phenomenal. And it takes you don't have to do the legwork. But you can, look at these different playlists and see if it fits you. And if it does, put it in there. I remember looking at one for, I think it was something for respiratory a while back. And I thought, okay, well, this is a good one to have. I don't know when I'll use it. You know what? It comes up.
Yeah.
And then it's there. And all you have to do is go look, oh, I think I did something like that. Pick on respiratory and let it run.
I like, you brought up the quantum flowers. I've known about the Bach flowers and the Australian flowers and the California flowers for years. And I knew that they were real, but okay, it was another one of those things like homeopathy. Don't really know how to use it. And so the work that our engineers did with that was to tap into the body's energy field. And so when you go to the quantum flowers, at the very top, there's a little scan. And you just hit that scan button and it will look at your energy field and then come up and say, okay, this is the emotion that's at play right now.
I think that's so powerful.
And then below that, it will list the flowers that are associated with that. And so it takes a lot of the initial guesswork out of it. And then you can say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That resonates with me. Or No, not quite. And you can hit the scan again and see what the next frequency that's out of whack. I love that part because it makes it simple and not intimidating.
Absolutely. And then, I love being able to imprint into
Yeah.
certain objects. Maybe it's just a glass of water that day, right? It doesn't have to be the bracelet. It can be so simple to utilize, and it doesn't have to be, you can have that energy frequency with you all day long. You don't just have to play it for 20 seconds to be done. You can,
Yeah.
but you can also have it in your presence for a long period of time.
Yeah. And the other thing is you've got a ring that you wear, or you have a pendant you wear, your credit card in your wallet. Any of those things can be imprinted and they're with you the whole time. So I think that's awesome. Do you use any of the other features in SEFI?
Oh, and SEFI, for me, I talked about a little bit about detoxification for myself earlier. So the energy homeoenergetics, I do play around with that a bit, but I do also believe that that is one that you have to be careful with because it's all about the detoxification.
Right.
So you got to make sure that your body is prepped for that, because if you just go in and detox too quickly, you might feel a little Herxheimer's. Yes. But I really do love it because the reality is we are subjected to toxins every single day. So if you just played, if you had a playlist where you kind of went down through, maybe you do your liver scan, your kidney scan, and make sure all your drainage pathways energetically are open, and then go for one day, play just the bacteria, maybe. Maybe the next day you play a little bit of the parasite. Maybe the next day you play a little bit of the viral load, just to kind of allow your body to work through those.
Okay, so along those lines, but outside of SEFI, let's go back to the vitals.
Okay.
The very first thing in vitals is food sensitivities. Now, a lot of people get confused that that's allergies, and that's not what we're talking about, or that you're allergic to this or that. Food sensitivities are amazing. Like if you went out to the restaurant and before you ordered your meal, you just pulled up your scanner, pulled you up in the target, and then just go to, and now remember, when you do vitals, you don't have to do everything.
Correct.
You can deselect everything and just hit food sensitivities. And then it literally takes 15 seconds. And it will tell you the foods that you should avoid. It doesn't mean you're allergic to them. It just means the benefit doesn't outweigh the stress you're going to put on the body by eating them.
That's right. I think that's because it's not necessarily even creating a reaction in your body, but it's more of that energetic weakness, if you will. Yeah, you've got superfoods and you've got foods that don't give you the superpowers that you're right. So the energy, because that's why we eat. We eat, well, most of us eat for energy. Right. Some of us eat because we like the taste of food,
that's
right?
True. Some of us more than others.
Some of us more than others. But yeah, if you look at that, or sometimes when you're looking at food, it has nothing to do with consuming the food. It has everything to do with the fact that maybe your omegas on your scan are low, right? Maybe your cholesterol is a little out of balance. Or perhaps, cilantro comes up and you've got some heavy metal toxicities going on. Like there's a correlation. There's a lot of correlations here.
And the thing is, you don't have to know all those correlations right now.
No.
Right now, we'll get back to what time is it instead of how is the watch working? Right now, it just says, I don't want those right now.
Absolutely.
Or these are the things that maybe I should eat tonight. And I think what's the whole purpose of the scanner is to help us become more educated and to help us make better decisions.
Yeah, it's about tapping into our own energy field that we are we have this innate energy to be able to do that, but we don't know how to tap into it. So this device gives us that ability to look at a scan and say, oh, this is what my body is trying to tell me.
That's right. I love that. So share with us maybe one or two of your most favorite experiences you've had in your clinic with people using the AO scanner. I hate to put you on the spot.
You are really putting me on the spot. I think a couple of them, most of them, I'm not going to lie, are digestively related.
That's where you focus.
That is where I focus. And so for me, one of the ones that really stick out to me is actually with a little girl that has some disabilities. And it has been the scanner that has kept her mother on the forefront of her disabilities.
Wow.
And the reason is because whenever we look at the scanner, we notice that her body does not really detoxify very well. And it's got a lot of inflammation, but she's too young to tell us this information. So With her reports, I was able to compile 15 of them at one given point, and that's how I like to use the scanner in my clinic.
It's perfect.
So I use 5 if somebody is really in a rush, 10 is okay, but 15 is really brilliant.
Wow.
Because if something populates, let's just say 10 of those 15 days, that's your body screaming at you.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing it on a day-to-day basis, you don't really see it, or you look over it and you don't really know what it is. And that's okay too. But if you really want to start compiling this information, so what we did is we did 15 days, and her methylation came up, liver came up, and nutrients came up. So I had the mom change her diet up a little bit. I had the mom start using InnerVoice on her daily. And this little girl did not speak very well. And now speaking better, fluently better, I would say. But she loves, her mom puts imprints in juice, is what she gives her the juice, because that's what works. But it has been phenomenal to watch when I've taken the scans, seeing what's happening, and then doing it and seeing the change, because 15 days twice is going to show you a lot of differentials in the body. And I didn't do it back to back. I didn't do 15 days and then 15 additional days. We did 15 days and then gave it a couple of months, and then it did another 15 days.
And so would you say the reports were in line with what you were seeing physically with the client as well?
Yeah, but it did give me a lot more information.
Wow.
Just because, again, this young girl could not really tell her mother or me, when I eat food, I get a bellyache, or when I have these type of foods, or, hydrochloric acid being a little off, or whatever it was. But just doing InnerVoice was the advancement that her body needed with the communication processes to be able to start doing the things it needed to do. So like you said, earlier, you said when you go to China and you do InnerVoice and you have yellow, it helps with your digestive system.
Yes.
It's the same type of thing that has happened. So that was a phenomenal breakthrough for us, because we were able to use it. And she has a scanner now that she just uses all the time.
We had a QLA that came into the office a little while ago, and she was saying, I've had this a year, and I bought this for my daughter. My daughter has a blood disease, and they can't seem to get it fixed. And every year it gets worse and worse and worse. And they use the scanner every day. The daughter uses it on her own. Not a lot of physical symptoms were visible to change. But when she went in to get her blood work done 1 year later, it had not only not changed negatively, it had actually improved a little bit. And she says, if that's all the scanner did for my daughter, or for everything, it's worth every penny I pay. Sometimes we think that these things are going to be a magic bullet, and it's just there's going to be a miracle happen. And there are times when amazing things happen from using the scanner, but most of the time it's changes.
Subtle. And I did talk about the mother with a daughter. You just talked about another mother. I'm a dog mom. So the scanner has also done fantastic things with me to scan my dog.
Yeah.
To tell me what's going on with her today. Why is she out of balance? Oh, her ears are out of range or whatever. And I do the same thing for her. It's another little piece that's not utilized as much. Now we don't focus on it as much, but it's just not utilized.
So I think the takeaway I would like for people to take away from this conversation today is take the time, get to know your scanner. Just take 10 minutes a week, sit down and just say, okay, I didn't know I could do this. Just start playing with things and look at this. Another thing I think that's really good, and it was one of our QLAs, and I don't remember who it was, that said that every day she would pick somebody in her circle and broadcast something that she felt that needed. Maybe it was just love or gratitude or abundance or health or whatever, but she would broadcast to somebody every single day. I thought that was really nice. It had nothing to do with her.
Yeah. So, beautiful, really.
Yeah. But little things that we can do with our device, it's just learn how to use it, learn how to understand it as much as you're comfortable with, and just play with it. And as you do, and start sharing what this scanner can do with other people.
And I think opening yourself up to asking questions not necessarily to learn how to use the scanner, but going beyond that and the creativity of what the scanner can do, and that's going to be even on Facebook. Or Day of Discovery is a perfect time to collaborate with people and really see what other people are doing to utilize the scanner to the most magical benefit that it can. And I know I have on multiple occasions met with people and thought, oh my gosh, I'm taking this home with me and I can't wait to tell everybody.
That's right.
Right? So it's a great time to share and to collaborate with people as well.
Jennifer, I so much appreciate your time today and to share with someone what you've done. And you need to know that Jennifer, like I said, has been with us from the very beginning. You've seen us just kind of grow, and the input that you've given us and the way that you've educated us has really been amazing.
Thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see. I know you have more things up your sleeve.
A few.
I know you do. I can't wait to see what those are.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Solex podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and the AOScan mobile device is not a medical device and does not diagnose, treat, or cure any disease.